Hi, I'm Steve Clemons. I direct the American Strategy Program at the New America Foundation and write a blog called The Washington Note. I'm here with Ambassador Zalmay Khalilzad, America's ambassador to the United Nations, former ambassador to Iraq and to Afghanistan. And we're here after a program that we've had today, a very fascinating discussion, and I just thought we'd ask you a few questions.
Please.
One, you know, the United Nations, particularly in the administration that you've been serving in, has been a controversial institution. And I'd be interested in your insights after having served there as our ambassador. And I have to say, I've talked to lots of other heads of mission of other nations at the UN who are such fans of yours, that you have gone in to see them, that they see you as a listener, someone who's fair-minded. Do you think the UN serves American interests, or do you think it's a ball and chain around America's foreign policy and national security efforts?
Well, I believe that it does serve the U.S. interest. We have used the UN and relied on it to deal with a number of problems. We have increased the UN role in Iraq to assist with the political reconciliation, to deal with provincial border issues in Kirkuk, for example, or we're relying on the UN to increase the international coordination of the effort to assist us in winning the war there. The UN can also play an important role in bringing nations together to deal with challenges that no single nation can handle alone. Even if one could, it wouldn't serve our interest if the United States was that nation to do it, because it costs us less when we can do it through the UN or with the UN, cost sharing. There are problems with the UN, sure. There are times where block behavior produces resolutions on issues that we disagree with, but those resolutions are generally in the nature of advisory on peace and security, and nothing can happen if we're opposed to it in the United Nations because of our veto. But for us to be effective, not only we need to know what we want done, but also to work with others, to convince others, to generate the support that's necessary
Sure.
to prevail. And I think our record over the past 2 years would show that we do pretty well. I think the number of resolutions on which we have lost is less than it was before, but also is a small number.
Are there any personal goals you had when you came into the job that you just haven't been able to check off as done yet? Anything that you feel is undone business that you really needed to do?
I achieved the big things I wanted to do, which is to kind of increase our effectiveness in the UN and to increase UN support for major issues that the U.S. Is involved in, whether it's Iraq, whether it's Afghanistan, whether it's in Darfur, whether it's a number of
Darfur is something you've really poured a lot of time and effort into.
And unfortunately, on some of those issues, we did not achieve the kind of progress I was hoping to achieve. Darfur, we have got only 67% of the force that I would have liked to see be in place by now, because of the problems of supply of forces, because of President Bashir of Sudan's policies of dragging his feet to agree and then dragging his feet to allow the agreement to be implemented. We have not made enough progress, or significant progress, with regard to Burma. I did a lot to get the Security Council to pay attention to it. Also, Zimbabwe is another place where we didn't do as much as I would have liked.
So a lot of this will continue on Susan Rice's plate.
Absolutely.
You know, the other thing is you wrote a piece, and I thought it was a very compelling treatment of nation building. The task and approach nation was a very serious piece that was remarkable, not just because of what you wrote, but because you wrote it in a time of a Republican administration that had come in and said, we don't want to be involved in that. So it was a brave piece for you to write. And you're in your 10 lessons that you went through, which I think you and others like Ambassador James Dobbins and others tried to apply this to Afghanistan, and for quite a while it looked like things were moving in a positive and constructive direction. Of course, when the wheels began coming off, you were no longer there. And I know this is a personal question, and it's one you might have to tread on carefully, but it does seem to me that you were able to achieve certain kinds of success, talking to even the bad guys, the thugs sitting around the room, in Afghanistan, and generate an equilibrium that was stable and positive, generating constructive, positive momentum. it seems when you weren't there, it wasn't. Are the lessons, the 10 lessons, teachable? And what do you think the Bush, why didn't other of your colleagues in the Bush administration take them more to heart?
I think those lessons are teachable and adaptable, because the points of emphasis from one place to another may differ. For example, in some places, having a political deal at the beginning may be feasible, and that's the best way to proceed. Have the political deal on the future of the country first. But in other places, the sequence may be different, or the level of effort required with regard to one task may be higher. I think I looked at my mission in Afghanistan as helping in partnership with the Afghans to make progress with regard to the goal, and to have a genuine partnership, problem solving. I think what has happened since has had two issues with it. One, there has been greater emphasis on us letting the Afghans do it, and emphasizing more that we want to have a normal embassy which would be reporting on the developments there, and not as much military-civilian coordination, I hear, as we had with General Barno right next to me at the embassy in charge of our military coordination. So we need to look at that. And the second is, there was an expectation that the Afghan government would be able to do a lot of this on its own without as much direct involvement from the international community. And I think it is clear that this partnership of the international community and the Afghans, each doing what it can best and supporting appropriately, is what is needed going forward. We do need to review our strategy in Afghanistan. Do we have the right goals? Do we have the right means? What is it that we need to do? What is it that the Afghan government needs to do? Because we cannot succeed if the Afghan government doesn't do what it must do. And also, the Afghan-Pakistan relationship is vital, where we need to make genuine progress.
You know, and another part of the sort of Khalilzad approach to, you know, tough neighborhoods is making sure that all the players are at the table.
Right.
And it does speak to one last item, which is sort of the Israeli-Palestinian mess, which is such a clear chronic ulcer.
Right.
You know, as I know you know, I've written, I think the challenges for America in the Middle East are defining challenges.
Right.
And it seems like we need to do something different there. And it seems if you were to take the Khalilzad approach, whether or not it probably wouldn't be bilateral discussions of inclusion of Hamas.
Right.
It seems impossible to sort of look at a solution that somehow doesn't deal with ending the isolation of Hamas.
Right.
And then I guess, you know, secondly, with the Gaza conflict, you've just gone through an extraordinary process of generating one of the last big resolutions you did, which is, you know, trying to generate a fair and balanced ceasefire that appealed to different players.
Right.
And we abstained in that vote, but nonetheless, it's somewhat historic because we haven't done much of that. And I'm wondering if you have any thoughts.
Well, I think we have allowed the Security Council in the last couple of months to play more of a role in dealing with this issue. We had a resolution a month ago that encapsulated the objectives of the Annapolis process, and putting a roadmap that endorsed by the Security Council that needs to be followed. And then this resolution with regard to Gaza. I believe that a key challenge that makes this region such a problematic region, the most challenging security-wise of the regions of the world. One source of the dysfunctionality is the Arab-Palestinian-Israeli dispute, and I believe we cannot make progress that's necessary towards normalcy without resolving this issue. That resolution has to deal with legitimate Israeli security concern. That's undeniable. We are committed to that, and I always watched for that Israeli interest in the Security Council. But at the same time, we need to deal with the legitimate Palestinian concerns of having a secure, normal, functioning state of their own. Now, Hamas at this point is against a two-state solution. And some are engaging Hamas, others are pressuring Hamas. We are in the pressure camp against Hamas. to discipline it, to change its calculus, to say there's a room at the table, but you've got to accept the broad framework that of a two-state solution. If your objective is to destroy Israel, there is no room for negotiations at the negotiating table for you. And I think I hear that the next administration will focus on the peace process issue from day one. I think that's very important that the U.S. Focuses on this. But that's one of the many things that are needed to make progress towards making this region a functioning region. As you said, this is a defining challenge of our time, and we can build broad coalitions with others to work together to help move this region in the right direction.
Well, I've admired your commitment to engaging everyone in the community. I want to thank you for your service, Ambassador Khalilzad. Thank you for talking to us today.
Well, thank you very much.
Good luck in your next phase.
Oh,
Thanks so much. Thank you.
Thank you. All the best to you.